Today on Life Journey, I'm joined by Jaye Hall, a cattlewoman, horsewoman, and someone deeply anchored in family. Jaye's life has been shaped by the land, by horses, and by the quiet strength that comes from showing up day after day for the people and animals she loves. Her story is one of grit and grace, of hard work, resilience, and the powerful role family plays in keeping us grounded and grateful. This is a conversation about connection, responsibility, and what it really means to live a life with purpose in the bush. Jaye, this has been a long time coming, and it takes Warwick to get us together, doesn't it?
Yes.
And isn't Warwick just fantastic?
Yes.
It just brings people together, and the Campdraft and Rodeo, and
Well, some people that you only see once a year.
yeah.
Too. Like,
Yeah.
it does even, we don't even see each other that often.
Yeah,
No.
yeah,
But no, Warwick we do.
yeah.
Well, they haven't been here for 8 years.
Yeah, we haven't been here for 8 years, so yeah, which we did start coming here the year it got washed out, which was 3 or 4 years ago. We got up at 3 o'clock in the morning, loaded the horses up. And at lunchtime we turned around and went back home and got home about midnight, and the poor old horses, I think they thought, what
Lost
are
the
you
plot.
doing? Anyway, but yeah, it's a great week, and very grateful to catch up with you because I know how busy you are. You've got so many horses over there.
Yeah. Well, it's nice this time. We've only got 12. That's an easy one. It's quite easy.
Yeah. But Jaye, we'll start with your childhood because, growing up in the bush is really special, and I guess your childhood was no more special than what mine was, but we're so fortunate to have that background. So tell me about what it was like growing up for you.
Yeah. Well, when I was, there must have been a bit of dirt road out there, I think, at the time when I was born, or bitumen now, but when I was originally born when we were at Camaray.
So where's that?
That was next door to Kaiwara now, so between Julia Creek and Cloncurry. And there's photos of a raft Dad built, and Mum and the Dalmatian, Mum pregnant with me and the Dalmatian dog on this raft.
Dalmatians invented then?
Yeah, Mum had a Dalmatian.
Really?
Yep.
Oh.
And anyway, Dad must have been panicking. Dad does all the worrying in our family. Dad must have been panicking that Mum was going to get stuck at home to have the baby, so he chuffed her off to Cloncurry, and this raft over I suppose it was, I don't even know what river it was, but anyway, got her out and got her into Cloncurry, and I still remember, years later, I went to the hospital there for something. I don't know what I'd done, and they said to me, the lady at the desk said to me, "Oh, have you been to this hospital?" And I said, "No, I don't think so." And there was a voice from the back. She's like, "Yeah, you were born here. You're in the system." So I was like, "Oh well, yep, no, I was here then." But we had it, and then we moved to Rutchelo, another place just south of McKinley, north of McKinley. There was Gilliot. Gilliot was a little old railway siding, just off the road off the Julia Creek Road highway there, and then McKinley, and it was in the middle, and it was all Tancreds. Mum and Dad managed it for Tancreds then, and I don't remember a whole lot about Rutchelo, but I do remember that the Gilliot pub was wasn't Mrs. Murphy, but it was one of the Murphy clan, and Dad always said it had hot beers and cold pies.
Oh.
But it was just a little pub under a big old apple pine tree there. Nothing left of it now, but big railway siding for bullocks and stuff where they'd truck the train out and stuff. And then we went to Kaiwara.
How old were you when
5.
you went? 5, yeah.
5 when we went there, and Mum and Dad bought it for $2 an acre, which back then, we never saw a lot of Dad. He used to do a lot of work at the sale yards in town, in Julia Creek. Must have been pretty big then, or day work, I suppose.
Yeah.
And I always remember I broke my arm. I don't know how old I was, but Mum was trying to get horses in. Kelly and I were in the back, and I fell over in the back. Well, I should have been sitting down, hanging on, obviously. Fell onto a steel post, broke my wrist, had to bounce into town, out to see Dad at the sale yards to tell him we were going to the hospital to get my arm cast and everything. But no, it was, so went from manager's job to, buying Kaiwara, and that was in 1979.
As tough as it would have been, for your mum and dad, that like getting into a place, looking back, there was probably a lot more opportunity.
A lot more opportunity then than now.
Yeah.
I don't know what you'd have to pay an acre for it there now.
Yeah.
And you're like, God, you couldn't, a young couple couldn't do it.
No.
Couldn't do it.
No, it would be so hard. And that's not lost on me, how fortunate we are to have been born into the life that we've been born into.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because it was like, we pretty well, we never wore shoes. We pretty well ran wild as kids. So we did school of the air there on the place, had a govy.
So through Mount Isa?
Through Mount Isa, yes. And didn't work when Mum tried to teach us, so I take my hat off to any mother that does try to teach their kids. But no, we always had govies, and at that stage it was all paper. It was all paper. Yeah, so you got your papers done, and you could go mustering so long as you had your work done. Yes. You could go mustering, and I always remember I've got to sit I always used to sit myself. My desk faced north, so I always knew north, south, east, and west. And but yeah, we could get any schoolwork done that we had done, and then we could and it was incentive to get it done. Yes. And had the radio, of course. We called in, pressed the button, called in. But I don't remember. Dad must have been home, but we had a lot of adjustment. We had a lot of adjustment cattle then to pay the bills, obviously. And Dad must have been home a lot, but he obviously did a bit of the day work and stuff. But but like I said to you before, we always ate at the table. Yeah. Always, morning. Dad would give you one call of a morning. That was daylight, and you daren't have a second call. And it was shame if you were last out of bed. Like all those old things. You always looked after your horse first when you came home. You always unsaddled your horse, bathed your horse. Didn't matter how thirsty you were. That's what you always.
That is so true.
You hosed your horse down first, and then you could have a drink out of the hose. And
your mother sounds like my mother.
You were the first. If you were in a vehicle, you were the first to get a gate. Like it was a race to get a gate as a kid. Like you were always racing whoever was else in the vehicle to get the gate. And we always ate at the table. Breakfast, lunch, we always meat and salad for lunch. We always had smokos, but the only time we were inside was to eat pretty well. And every other time we were outside. And Mum, if there was something, if there was a bit of cheesecake, we milked our own cows then. We had cows. Dad milked the cows actually, and Kelly wasn't very good at that. He used to usually kick the cow, lose the bucket of milk. He'd come home with a little bit of milk in the bucket. But they were Brahman cows that we milked back then. Like they weren't. They were old Brahman cows, so they were a little fragile. And Dad would bring it home and strain the milk, and it was always done before daylight. They liked to be milked before daylight. But any of the last bit of anything, Mum always said Dad was the hardest worker. It got saved for Dad. Yeah, and that's all. I've always remembered that. The last bit of, and I mean, we only went to town. We're only half an hour out of town, but it was always. Now you're trying to shove fruit into your kids and everything. Like eat fruit. I remember the apples would get cut into 4 because the food had to wait until next time you went to town, sort of thing. Everything was. There was, your phone calls were made at the cheap time, which was after dark and before daylight, sort of thing. Like. Now you just jump in a car and go to town if you need something, don't you? Yeah.
So the telephone, did you have party lines?
Yep.
And we had that too,
Yep. Gilliot 1D, long and 2 shorts. Yeah. And if you wanted to ring your neighbour, you just rang whatever was their party line number. And those old girls on that party line, they would know. They would know. They would have known everything.
They knew everything.
Oh, they did.
I actually love remembering stories like that and telling my kids. Yeah. And they get a little bit of an understanding.
They look at you like you're prehistoric, though.
Yeah, Gosh, how old are you, really?
We used to, on cool nights, we'd always sleep. We had a trampoline. We'd sleep out on the trampoline and thought it was great. We probably got eaten by mosquitoes, and I couldn't think of anything worse now. But it was, you just slept, out on the trampoline at the stars, and it was
There's
lovely.
so much freedom, especially back then, and I guess, less worry. And kids in the bush, your parents must
Well,
worry less than parents in town.
Yep, about all our rules was if you'd gone, you had to be home before dark.
Yeah.
And you had to tell mum or dad where you were going. But we could be gone on horses, like, and you'd canter the horses and like dive off in the creek, which wasn't, and the horse would wait on the other side, or someone would catch it for you, and back you'd go again, and you'd be in trees and in cubbies, and yeah, but so long as you were home before dark.
Yeah.
And that was about the only rules.
Yeah.
Look after your horses, and look after each other, and
Yeah.
that was
And
about
it does. It brings you closer to your siblings too, doesn't
Yeah.
it? And that
Yeah.
lasts a lifetime.
It does.
And that's so important as a parent,
does.
don't you reckon?
Yep. And there was no, the only time we watched TV was when we were sick. So because the TV was never on before dark, and it was never on while you were having tea or anything like that at the table, the only time you got to watch TV was when you were sick. But then, if anyone caught you sneaking outside to do something with the horse or something, you obviously weren't sick anymore. So it was go back to school or go back to doing whatever. Yeah.
So can you remember what you used to watch?
Not much.
Just anything that was on.
Yeah,
I guess.
just ABC.
Yeah.
Whatever was on the ABC, which wasn't much either. But I always remember when Dad said, he must have been thinking like, right, we've got to start. And he's like, right, we had to come and watch the news to see what was happening in the world. I remember one of us said one time, like, they're voting. I said, wouldn't have a clue who would be meant to vote for. And he's like, well, that's a terrible thing. I remember him saying, that's a terrible thing. If you don't know who should be running the country or who's good at it, well then, you need to start. I don't know if there was something in the news about it then. I don't know. I don't ever remember getting the papers. But anyway, we watched the news for 5 minutes or something. But no, we never. The wireless, Dad sleeps with the wireless going, so he could tell you what happened all through the night. No, I'm still not a big TV fan, I suppose. From that. Like it's
all those things. I think build integrity in a person.
Yeah.
Don't you think?
Yeah. Because there was no mobile phones or anything. You didn't even if you wanted to talk to someone, you rang them up on the phone.
Yeah.
And you had to sit there because the phone was glued to the wall.
Yeah.
And and the cheap time was night time.
Yeah.
So that was I think so.
Yeah. So Jay, when it came, you got married, and was it a big decision for you to have your own family because of your passion for the place and horses, and because kids can put, they take a lot more work than a horse or a cow.
Well,
most
when you're
of the
used
time.
to just getting up of a morning, putting your hats and boots on, and just heading out, heading out and making your own hours. Didn't matter if you didn't come home for lunch. It didn't matter.
Yeah.
Didn't matter where you went or how long you were gone. And I remember. And I remember I had Madison, and I was never a kid person. I never cuddled babies, and they cried if I did, and I was never a kid. Always good with young animals and stuff, but kids were a different story. And we didn't move to Bibble till Madison was 4 months old.
Mm-hmm.
So I was at Kaiwara for till we found something, and so Ben must have been. I don't know if he was droving or contract master. I think he was still droving then. And I got home. Well, I remember leaving the hospital and thinking, heck, this little thing survives. And then came back to Kaiwara, and I think she was 4 days old. And he's like, righto, well, I'm off. And and I don't cry much, but I remember crying then. He said, well, this is how it's got to be. So this is and I had Mum and Dad there, and then I remember one day they were going out hay baling and everything, and got back, and you know how you feel sometimes with a baby, like you've done absolutely nothing.
Yes.
Hey, you've got absolutely nothing accomplished, when usually your day you're just getting so much done. And I said to Dad, I said, like, God, I've just got nothing done. They must have come home for lunch or something. And he said, yeah, you have. Yeah, you have. You're raising this beautiful little girl.
Yeah.
And I thought, well, I sort of thought, well, that's where my priority's got to be. Yeah. And but I always had when I moved to Bearville and was there by myself a fair bit with the kids, I had a what's the thing, baby monitor. and I'd just stick it out. And even if I could get a horse and either had one kid in the pram and one kid asleep inside, and we're on a gidgy ridge at Bibble, but just to get my sanity, just to get my horse fix, there's a bit of an area between the house and the thing there, and I'd just ride circles there where I could hear the baby monitor or something.
Yeah.
You've still just got to have that little bit of something.
Yeah.
Yeah, we
Time for you.
Yeah.
And horses are the best
Yeah,
at doing
they're
that, aren't
therapy.
they? Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
And yeah, that or I'd take them. I put Wyatt, sometimes I really wonder, I put Wyatt in a car. I had a caretaker once and helping, and yeah, he was a bit different, but I needed to muster some bulls, so I put Wyatt in the car with the caretaker in the back seat, strapped in, and anyway, the caretaker, he got to me, and I was on the bike with Madison in front of me, the four-wheeler, and he got to me and he's like, oh, I've nearly had a fatal fatality. And I said, oh, what, George? Thinking, and he's like, the car ran over me. And I said, it did what? Because I'm thinking my child's in the car. And yeah, it got out to open the gate, hadn't put the car into neutral.
No.
And so luckily the hinges on the gate weren't very good, so the car had gone over George, hit the gate had fallen off. George was obviously nimble enough to get up, get back in the car, pull the car up. Oh, heck. But I nearly had the same thing. Look, this is how bad I was. This is how bad I was, Kelly, in the beginning. I got home from hospital and I was so glad. I got Madison in the pram and down to the yards I went. It was blowing a gale, you know what it's like on the downs. And I don't think I even had her strapped in. I had that old red dog Snap that always lived with the kids. And pulled the pram up down the yards, walked down the yards, it's a fair way, and pulled up. And I got up on the rail to look at the weaners in the yard, and the pram took off in the wind with the kid. I didn't put the brake on, didn't even think to put the brake on. And anyway, she pulled up in a bit of a ditch. Everything was still all upright, and baby never knew what had happened, obviously, but got it and, yeah, reminded her to put the brake on. But, some things you just think, gee, but yeah, everyone survived.
Oh, yeah.
Everyone survived. Yeah. But yeah, Kelly, I don't know, you got to be, if you're going to, you've got to be ready and stable enough, hey, to have kids. And I don't know if there's never going to be a time when you're not going to miss out on. Like they say, you know, they just fit into your life. They only do to a certain thing.
Yeah.
I think the men, it doesn't make a whole lot of difference to their life,
No,
but it certainly
exactly.
does. And it doesn't matter how much you can fit them into your life, but only to a certain thing.
Yeah.
But there's always going to be another camp draft. There'll always be. It'll always still
Yeah.
be there.
And it does-
The priority's the child in the end, I reckon.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
gotta
And it's not for a very long
Oh,
time, is it?
There's mine there now,
that-
is nearly 20-year-old.
Yeah.
And you think, heck, where did it go?
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
All of it. And I
And-
say to young mothers now, I say, like, enjoy it because it just goes so quickly.
Yes.
All the sleepless nights and all that thing where you think you're having a hard time. But I wonder what you did before you had kids.
Oh,
Because you think you're busy,
yeah,
but like once you have kids,
yeah.
it all just gets way busier.
Oh, yeah.
And
yeah.
you
I-
think, what did I do before now?
I look at young mothers, you know, with, you know, even one child,
Yeah.
and how busy they are, and
Yeah.
I think, how do they do it? How did I do it?
Yeah.
Like, you just,
Yeah.
it's amazing. It's incredible what you can do. And
Well,
how-
it is. Like even when I was shoeing and the kids were only really little and I was shoeing, and in the shed I had the pool so that they wouldn't drown, obviously within reach, but then also if the horse pulled back, I wasn't going to jump on them, but I had
Yeah.
the kids in the pool just there,
Yeah.
just playing.
Yeah.
Like, and I was never a big one to have them, like, well, I remember my kids never did e-kindy, is it, or anything like that.
Yeah.
They started in prep, I think.
Yeah.
But I remember going and said to them, like, you know, and one mother said, okay, so I've got my child in prep, what do I do with the other one? And they were like, oh, just set up another screen and, you know, get them in there. I said, no, get them outside, put them in the house yard, send them with their father.
Yeah.
They learn more out there.
Oh, yeah.
Doing all that, hey?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
if they can't learn in 12 years of school what they got to learn, well, they don't need to be in there any earlier, I don't reckon.
No.
That's where they learn all the life skills.
Yeah, we actually camped with this little fellow from Charters Towers, and he's come down with his grandfather and his dad,
Oh.
and missed school for the week.
Yep.
But it's just such a great experience for
Yep.
him, and he's been looking after the camp. He's been doing the ironing and
Really?
cooking for them, and he's the
Really?
loveliest kid. And I
Yeah.
just think, you know, I really take my hat off to you know, to them,
Yeah.
that they've let him come down
Yep.
here and
And
let him
seen the
have this
worth of it.
experience,
Yeah.
and he's learned so much more
Yeah.
in this week doing this than he would have at school.
Yeah,
Now, I'm not saying he
definitely.
doesn't have to go back to school
Yeah,
next
no,
week,
he'll have
but
to go back
you know,
to
it's a
school,
really
but-
good experience
Yeah.
for them,
Yeah, definitely.
and we are really so fortunate that we can give our kids
Yep. Those
that.
lessons.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jay, from the outside looking in, you and Ben have really navigated nurturing your kids and not putting expectations on them, because Wyatt does his thing and
Yeah.
Madison, and I think as parents, or do you think as parents, we can fall into the trap of forcing them to do things that we like and that we
yeah.
want them to do?
Oh, definitely. And I've seen that firsthand with Whitey, Kel. Like, he's, you know, he's right from when he was a tiny little thing in the car seat, he would start squealing with excitement about something. There'd be a grader working out across the flat somewhere that we hadn't even noticed or something.
Yeah.
And he can ride, but he doesn't care to.
Yeah.
And even the job he went to now, that was the first thing he said when he went there. He said, like, I'll just get one thing straight first, don't ever ask me to get on a horse.
Yeah.
But the amount of people, and he has never been asked to, but the amount of people at the drafts that would say, it'll be okay, he'll ride one day. I said, I don't care if he never rides.
Yeah.
He's not on the street selling drugs.
Yeah.
He's wanting to drive a machine. And I told him when he was little, I said, I'll back you all the way.
Yeah.
You don't ever change. I will back you to everything I have, to you to do what you want. But then on the same scenario with Madison, like, so long as she's got horses, cattle and dogs, she's happy.
Yeah.
So it's so easy with her at home as soon as she steps out the door. But then in her work experience, people were like, you know, she needs to go and do hairdressing or do something. And I said, I think we're fortunate. We have two kids that know exactly the paths they want to take.
Yeah.
And I've fought for long enough for Wyatt to do what he wants to do. I'm not going to go and make Madison do something she doesn't want to do.
Yeah.
Like, and I mean, in the end, we've got these places. I don't care if it's a boy or a girl that wants to go on with them.
Yeah.
If they're passionate about it, and she'd run the places, no worries. And Wyatt could too, but he wouldn't have horses on there.
Yeah, and he'd bring something completely different
completely
to the...
different. Well, someone's got to grade the road, someone's got to fix things.
Yeah.
I said to her with work experience, I said, I don't care if you go to another place, and she went to Pete and Tony O'Neill's, but I said, work experience to me is going and working for someone else, whether you're in the same line, but everybody's, you know, if she went to your place or someone else's place, there's going to be different things she's going to see, she's going to pick up, and yeah, she came back talking about how they put, you know, cattle on computers and they did this and they weighed this, and there was so much different at home, and she had to work in with their way of working, and so I just reckon, you know, kids will get to in their mid-20s and still be going to uni because they don't know what they want to do.
Yeah.
And I think we've been lucky that they know, so back them.
Yeah.
Back them into it. And it used to annoy me when people would say, like, you know, it's okay, one day Wyatt will ride a horse. So I don't care if he never rides a horse. He can, because that's a skill, the same as Madison can drive the grader, but she'd rather ride a horse.
Yeah.
So let them do what makes them happy, and then they'll do it well.
Exactly.
And I say to her, you know, you can go if you want to go now at this stage of your life, go. But she takes on responsibility very easily, and she likes being at home. We need someone at home. She goes away for little stints, but I'm not going to go and make her go somewhere she doesn't want to go. Just, you know, and it's not like she's never been exposed to stuff, Calais. We've been to plenty of places. She can sit and talk to people. It's not like she needs to go, but if she wants to go, I said go now, because home's always here.
Yeah.
But I'm a big believer in them doing what they want to do.
Yeah.
From whatever age.
Yeah, and that's probably why they both knew what they wanted to do, because they didn't have the pressure of expectation on them from their parents.
I suppose so.
I
Because
reckon that.
I've been proud of Wyatt that he's kept doing what he's wanted to do.
And hasn't
No,
felt like...
He has not felt, but then there's not not been the real pressure, not from my end anyway, to have to ride a horse, because you always need someone on a bike to do the outskirts.
Oh, yeah,
you know. And I just reckon they'll, in the end, you want your kids to be good humans and have a job.
Yeah.
Hey?
Yeah, and be happy.
And be happy,
yeah.
and be good humans, and but be happy, and then they'll do it well.
Yeah.
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 So they're totally different. They're totally different in nature. They're totally different in what they do, but I think they're happy and they're doing what they want to do.
Yeah.
Madison went to the pig and calf sale and bought 5 calves here. Entrepreneur. 5 calves for $120.
Oh gosh, well, lucky there weren't any machinery sales on, because
Yes.
you might have been taking
Well,
5
yeah.
potties
Oh, no.
and a grader home.
Well, that's
or
what
something.
we all, every year at Warwick, I would spend hours at the end of that lane, you know, with all the machinery, the tractors and everything. When Wyatt was little, we climbed over every tractor.
Yeah.
We went through every tractor and everything that was there, and I mean, nothing else for the whole rest of the week interested him.
Yeah.
So that was where his interest was. So you've got to show interest.
Yeah.
You've got to be there, got to
Yeah.
do it. And you know, Madison, you go for a ride with her, you go and look at tractors with Wyatt. So it's not hard, hey? I don't think.
Yeah.
Yeah, but let them take their own path and be good people.
And I guess, is that how your parents
Yep.
taught, you know, what they instilled in you as
We were
well?
always, I've got 2 brothers, and Kelly and Darcy, everything was always equal between us.
Yeah.
We were all treated the same. We were all allowed to do, the boys wanted to go rodeoing, and we all ended up on the land doing our thing, but we're all a bit different in what we do. But we were always, it was never, you know, I was the girl, so I had to do this.
Yeah.
And they were the boys, they got that. We all got exactly the same.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hutton, he's such a stirrer, and you know, I'd say, Hutty, can you go and hang the clothes? You know, we'd come in from mustering something, and I'd be getting smoker or something, and girls would be doing something, and I'd say, can you hang those clothes out? And Hutton would stir us up. He'd say, that's a girl's job. Like, he'd go and do it, and he was only tricking, thank goodness, but he loved, you know, stirring his sisters up.
Yeah.
But
well, I was always, like, Dad would get up and cook breakfast, and we always put the washing on that night, and he usually hung it out of a morning. So to me, that was normal. And then you get to other families, and it's like, heck, it's not normal.
Yeah.
And I remember saying to Wyatt once when he was only little, and of course I said it in front of someone else, I said, can you please hang the washing out? And he was like, oh my goodness, it seems to be all I do, hang the washing out. Oh God. It's like, but no, it's Dad was always good at helping Mum do things. Yeah.
And Jay, I want to ask you about your bronze sculpting, because what made you decide that you had enough time in your day to start sculpting on top of everything else that you do?
When I went to Longleach Pastoral College, I knew of old Eddie Hackman.
Yep.
And he was just a master creator, wasn't he? Like, so much detail and everything in all of that. And then when I went to college, there'd only ever been boys that had been ducks, and I ended up ducks at the college. So they actually came and said to me, what do you want? What do we, because like, what do you want? No, I said something, of course I didn't have a clue, Kel. I said something like a shoeing roll or something, I don't know. And they said, no, we want to give you something to put a plaque on. I don't know what the boys used to get. But anyway, and I said, we'd been to the Rocky Quarter Horse sale, and with college, that was when, you prepared horses and took them to the Rocky Quarter Horse sale. And I'd seen some of Eddie's bronzes there, and I said, well, actually, you know, one of his bronzes. And I really liked, what he had created. And I was actually lucky because it started then, every year they would give a bronze for the ducks of the college. But I got to choose mine, and it was a fellow kneeling down, putting hobbles on his horse. Every year after that, it was 2 sheep. Longreach was the sheep area, so I thought I did well there. But so then, I don't even know. It was I think I went to the Territory for a while then, but then it was actually Eddie's daughter came through home on her way to the Territory showing cattle with Wendy Cole, and they pulled up at Kaiwara, and I said to Nicola, I said, found out that she was Eddie's daughter, and I said, yeah, does your dad ever take anybody on, or what does he do? And she said, no, he's never had anybody go to him, but she said, just ring him up and see if you can go there, and it takes a month to cast a piece. So that's probably without even the sculpting. Well, it depends how diligent you are with the sculpting. The casting sort of takes a month. And so I think I went to New Zealand or America or something in that time, and then I rang him when I came back, and he's like, yep, just come down for a month. And he said, work in the, and he had never had anybody go to him, he was old by then, and he said, work in the foundry, and so learn the process. Didn't cost me a cent, and he said in that time, work doing his pieces, but do my piece, and it was good advice because he told me, well, he knew I was into horses, and he said, just do a plain horse first, and then you sculpt a plain horse, and he was always about the detail. He used to make me draw the eye or the hock or something. I never draw anything anymore, but that was to get the detail and make a plain horse, and you make a mould of that so that you can make more, and then when it's in the wax still, you can add more to it, add a saddle to it. That old original Rio it was, he has become a camp drafter, a polo cross horse, a brood mare, a quarter horse, and it was really great because you're sculpting, the sculpting is really time consuming, but if you've got that and you can just cut his shoulders up, he's been standing, he's galloping, he's trotting, he's jumping, he's cutting, and you can add and subtract to it, and it's something in the wax. You can put it in the fridge and leave it if you get sick of it, but I don't do as much sculpting now because there'd probably be 50 or 60 moulds now, so a lot of it I can mix and match, but I do get a bit of them wanting something in particular, and if it's not, like the other day someone wanted a muster, and I've got the Brahman muster, but they wanted flatbacks, so I just had to make the cattle into flatbacks, and I threaten to give it up every year when it's all getting too much, but there's some that, they just get the same things every year, and that makes it easy. And I've never done frogs or lizards or anything like that. It's always station scenes, horses, cattle. Don't like doing people that much. But, that's... I don't know how much longer I'll go on with it, but while I've got the moulds, and I've got a friend in Toowoomba actually that casts it, and that's the only way I can keep up. I couldn't keep up if I had to do the casting and everything. I used to do it all, but I couldn't possibly do it now. So I just do the sculpting, and how you sculpt it in the beginning is how it comes out in the end. So in the casting bit, really that's not the arty bit, that's just getting it done. Getting it from wax into metal.
So the artwork's all in there.
The artwork is in the wax. The artwork's in the wax, and that's where you can change things as much as you like in that. But how you have that in the end is how it's going to be cast.
And Jaye, I'll like 2019 when you got completely smashed with the flood and everything, and I'm sure you've been through so many other tough things in your life.
That's by far the toughest. But
how do you get through that? How do you get through when everything's just on top of you and you're just feeling like you must feel like the world's ending, and there's so much tragedy around you in that instance. How do you navigate that? How do you get up every day and handle what's ahead of you?
You just had to have the mindset that you had to, Kelly. There was no other way around it. Like, if we didn't feed, and I was so lucky to have Zane, because Ben was down at Tamworth then. Zane and Dan flew, they came pick me up, and we went there, and it was just a matter of, there was no other way.
It caught everybody off guard, didn't it?
It really caught everybody off guard, and in the beginning, you just had to think just one foot in front of the other. We had to, when we got there, we didn't even fly around. And I'd asked Darcy, my brother, to go and look at things first. So I kind of knew what he said. It's bad, and that was before the water had even gone down. He flew around, but it was really hard. It was hard to get choppers because a lot of the companies had the choppers. It was hard to get the choppers in the air because of the wind and the rain. It just kept raining, and the wind and the cold. And well, Zane rang me and he said, like, what do you want to do? Do you want 1 or 2 choppers? And I didn't even really know what I wanted, but I said 2, and thank goodness I did. And we went there, and it was nearly, I don't think it didn't actually hit me, Kelly, till Zane was leaving in that chopper. When he left, when Ben got there 2 weeks later and Zane left, I remember saying to Zane in the chopper when we were going, I said, like, I don't know how we're going to pay you, because choppers are expensive, aren't they? We've all used them a little bit for mustering. And here I am thinking, like, we're going over there, and he said, you know, I might be able to stay a week, but I'm busy, I've got to get home. Daniel will be able to stay. And in the end, he just stayed there till Ben got there. But it was good having those 2 fellows there. They were in the house, they were there at night. Our neighbours would send food, like, Zane would go and help them in the choppers, and he'd come back with a lasagna on the seat or something like that. But when you saw the cattle, and they were, what was alive was starving, and they were so traumatised, they didn't even know where they were. And when we got there, luckily we had hay in the shed, and that was actually from Kelly. There was also so much luck, like I'd had Kelly and Lucy's mares at home all through the drought, because at that time at Kaiwara we were feeding molasses. Like, it was ordinary, we were in drought, we were feeding molasses. So we'd gone from drought to 30 inches in 10 days, to freezing cold in February. It's like 45, 47 degrees. So then it's come way back to where it's so cold. But Kelly, at Christmas time, had said, oh, you've had all the horses down there, hadn't charged anything. Do you want some hay? Where do you want it, Bibble or Kaiwara? And I just said, well, Kaiwara's 1,000 k's closer for you. Just take it to there and put it in the shed. If we hadn't had that, I don't know what we would have done. They were just little squares, 3x4s. And Zane and I flew out, and it was just a matter of, you just had to do what you had to do, and it was as simple as that. And you had no time really to stop and think, or poor me or anything, because the cattle needed you. The cattle, we flew out, we got there at 12 o'clock that day, and we just started putting out hay to wherever they were standing. Some of them were laying. Zane shot a lot of cattle that couldn't get up. He'd go around and he said, like, if you had to go and physically check them on the ground to see if they were still blinking. He said, you walk around and check what's there, because I get so sick in choppers. But it nearly killed me up, because Dan he had the hook on the chopper, so he would take the hay out and he'd drop it. No one had a map or anything. Zane just said, like, he and I went out and found things, and then they had worked together in floods before, so they were amazing with their communication. Dan would just bring the hay, he'd drop it where Zane said to drop it, where we were, and then he'd put me down. And he said, like, I remember Zane saying, like, if it's muddy, you're going to have to get on the skids and then jump onto the ground, and then off the ground onto the skid and back in. And I'm like, I don't know if I'm that athletic, hey? Like, but his pliers, Kelly, his pliers, I had to get out and cut a fence where the young bulls were onto the road. I think I would have been better off chewing the wire with my teeth. They were that blunt. He said, I'm a chopper pilot. He said, don't do fencing. So yeah, there was little things like that kept things. But we walked those little bulls. I think he shot, I don't know, probably 30 there that couldn't get up. And the others, we walked them out onto the main road. Their legs were like elephants. They couldn't lay down because they were so stiff from standing in mud. Walked them up onto the road, and you couldn't get them to walk into any water. They were that traumatised. And their eyes were all sunken in. If you touched them, it all came off on your hands. So I ended up, like, I would go out there and just walk them along the bitumen, little bits each day, to where I got to where I could cart water to them and cart hay to them. We put calves in wool pack under a chopper and got them home. Like put them under the chopper and flew them home like over the channels. Their mothers had died. But wherever was standing that first day, we got hay, got everything fed that. I think it was, I don't know if it was 40 bales of hay we put out in 7 hours, something like that. We just kept going till dark, whether it was one bull there or 10 cows. And they, like our cows don't know choppers, but they know hay. But you had to physically, so Zane would put me down to get the wrapping off the hay, and you'd have to physically get those cattle and put them on the hay because they didn't know what was coming out of the sky. They were just in another planet. But we fed them and we just kept feeding them because no grass grew because everything just went. So you went pretty well back to drought. But we after that, if we had been a day later, I reckon we'd have lost more. We lost half the mob as it was, but we'd have lost more. But getting a feed into them, and then they just lay down there where they were. But then the next thing you had to do was get them to water, fences. One poor old cow, we landed, and the gate was closed, but all the fence was down, and she was at the gate. She didn't even realise the fence. She was in the wrong paddock, and she wanted to go home. She wanted to go back there. And she was so traumatised that she couldn't get through the gate. We landed, opened the gate, and she walked back the gate, and she was in her paddock. The fence, she could have walked over the fence anywhere. But when I could drive to places, I would put hay on the back of the Toyota and take it out and tie it to a tree and pull it off. And they just stayed there eating. And I think that saved them too, because they didn't have to walk. If they'd have gone walking looking for feed, they wouldn't have done it. They were weak. They needed to rest. They needed to eat, fill up, and afterwards I went round and got all the potty calves, and a friend, Wendy Cole, actually took them and looked after them till they were old enough to wean. Send a truck.
No, it's
the
amazing.
Amount of people that just came through and helped.
That is the most incredible thing, isn't it? And
Yep.
there's so much emotion in when there's tragedy like that. But the most emotional thing for me, and tell me if you agree, is not so much the trauma of what you're going through, but the kindness of people and what they do for you. That's what makes you cry.
Well, it was just like you just had a job to do. You just had to look after your cows. You just had to do that. So there's no use crying about anything. Like you just had to do. You just had to keep getting up and getting out and saving everything. And it didn't even occur. Didn't even really, except for the phone calls, people ringing up wanting adjustment, and pretty well being so nasty because you wouldn't give them adjustment. One fella said, "We'll just turn up there." I said, "Well, you can turn up here," but I said, "We've got no grass." I said, "We don't even know how we're going to come out of this." To where I wouldn't even answer the phone unless it was somebody I knew, a number I knew, or somebody I knew. I would not answer the phone because they all just thought we had grass just coming up everywhere, and we had nothing. And and that's what I said. Though Dan and Zane, and they said to me, "We'll look after you first, and then anywhere you want us to go." And so they helped all the neighbours, and even that, I think I remember getting a photo of one of them landing at Bindoran there for the bullies, and they were just so grateful. They were just so grateful to have help. And Zane caught poor old Jenny Bridges next door. She's about as bad flying as me, and he had to take her because a lot of the cattle were dying of pneumonia. And he had to fly her over the channels and get her to where she could get town to get stuff for their potties. And she got in the helicopter with him, and she said, "I'm not very good at flying, Zane." And he's like, "No, neither am I." And here he is flying the thing, and she said, "Oh, it's all right." So anyway, but it was things like that. And then I think those two chopper pilots were my security blanket, and that's why Ben arrived, and so he arrived and they left, and that I gave Zane, he must have had to go home via Bibble for some reason, or I don't know if he even did, but I asked him to give 2 letters to my kids. And I don't know, I could have rung them, but anyway, I wrote them letters, and Madison had written me that beautiful letter. That beautiful letter.
I'd forgotten about that, Jaye.
That beautiful, and and you know, and same thing, that kindness, and you know, like meals coming back in the chopper from the neighbours who were
Yes.
going through the same thing as us,
Yeah.
and then Ruffy just sending up Pete and Tone. He said, you just arrived there with all the fencing gear.
Yeah.
And they said, what if they don't want us? He said, I don't care. You just arrived with
Yeah.
all this fencing. Then they did all
Yeah.
this fencing gear and helped us get all our fences up again. And another friend came with, I don't even know what he had. It was a loader, I think, to bury all the dead cattle. And that was the best thing because there was just no sign of, like, he did such a good job of burying them. So as you weren't just driving past them all the time because they were in trees, they were in fences, they were just flats of them where they were bogged or where they'd gone off, and so we had people there, and they just turned up and helped, but yeah, that letter from Madison and Wyatt where she wrote and she said, she said, I'm really sorry about the cows, and if you need any money, to help with anything, help pay for the chopper, take it out of my bank account. Like, so that's, because I just left them at Bibble. I left them with Jess Dodwell, just got in the chopper and left. I said, I don't know how long I'm going for or what I'm going to find. Jess and the kids just looked after everything at home like it was theirs.
Times like that, you think you must realise that you've done a good job with your kids.
I think so.
Jay, I always think, even on the very darkest day, you know, if you look for it, there's humour, and you've got to have a laugh.
Yes.
Like, you know, even when things are just so terrible.
Yeah, definitely. Like that poor old cow that was really traumatised waiting for the gate to be open. Like, Zane had landed, we'd landed beside her, and I don't think he realised quite how bad she was, and she was on my side, and like, she was coming at the chopper. She was so bad. And I had to be like, oi, this cow is going to come. She's coming. She's coming in the chopper in a minute. If we don't move or we don't get that gate open. And he was looking out at something out this side. But, you know, there was just... And if they had been just commercial you know, that just came, did the job and left again, and I'd have been there at home at night time by myself, like, you could imagine living with those two in the house. It was there was humour all the time, like as dark and as bad as it would all. But at night time, you could nearly come in at night time with Brenda Bully had sent this beautiful lasagna over or something. You could eat that and go to bed, not worry about the phone and the people ringing for adjustment. You know, talk to Ben and there was humour, and you faced it again the next day. And you just got up the next day ready to face it, ready to walk the bulls further, ready to put out more hay. And I don't know, they were there for 2 weeks. We just kept feeding hay, kept feeding hay for as long as those cows needed it for. But there was that bit of humour can just lighten the load, in a big way.
Jay, I want to ask you, what horse has been the most important in your life? Like, what horse has been your favourite? I didn't have that in the list of questions, but I was thinking before, I really want to ask Jay who her best horse has been.
It would have been Red Pepper. He was a little quarter horse, little chestnut quarter horse that he was meant to be sold, actually, because he was a gelding. And I was 5 and he was 5. We were the same age. And he was getting sold, and that fellow never turned up that day. And I commandeered this horse, and I could jump him, Cal, barrel race him, draft him. I think I rode him till I was 21. I won the 6-bar on him in Cloncurry.
Did you? I didn't know you were.
Yes, show jump, cross country. I was as brave as anything. I would jump anything, and now I'm flat out jumping my own shadow. God. But no, and he was only about 14.3, but he had the biggest heart, and he actually, like, way back was related to like Play Rio's mother. But he was he was just, and I I did 3-day eventing on him. I did everything on him, and he was everyone knew Red Pepper. They knew Red Pepper, and I was the one that rode Red Pepper.
Yeah.
But he was a little red swing horse and little quarter horse, stock horse cross, and he taught me so much. And then later in life, I reckon it'd have to be El Torrio.
Yeah.
She's just, I love watching her, I love looking after her, and well, there today, getting a place in the Cannings, and like I said to you, she won that 11 years ago.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
she's
As a
been-
6-year-old.
yeah,
Yeah, when she was 6.
she's been.
That's so special.
That is, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like, and I'm going to miss her.
Yeah.
Being just watching, I love watching Ben on her.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
and you know, I rode her as a young man.
Yeah.
And I challenged her and did the futurities and all with her, and then Ben took her over in her rookie year. So
Why?
because she was just, I always said she needed the opportunity to have
Yeah.
him.
Oh.
Yeah, she was. I knew she was going to be a standout, and I would have never given her the opportunities
Oh,
that he's
Jay, I
given her.
don't believe that.
No, true,
Yeah.
true. But yeah, I still loved getting on her for ladies or something like that. And yeah, she's been the later one.
Yeah. Yeah. There's always special horses
Yes.
that just stand out
Yes.
in your life, aren't there?
Yeah. If you ask anyone that knew me as a child, they'd still like Del Marie Glenwright. She said, yeah, we always knew Red Pepper.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I could point him at anything. He'd jump it, go round it, chase it,
Yeah.
and he was great. And at 5, I wouldn't have obviously taught him very much. He obviously taught me a lot.
Yeah.
Like, no,
That's
you never
special.
forget those horses.
Jay, if you weren't doing what you've done all your life, what do you reckon you would have been? What would you have done?
I reckon, a photographer, but it would be probably not weddings and stuff. It'd have to be animals, horses, camp drafting, something. I've always taken a few photos. I've always liked taking photos, and I don't know if I'd be any good at it, but I reckon that's something that I could go and do.
Yeah. You must be a fairly obviously a creative. You've got that creative side about you,
Yeah, a
haven't
little
you?
bit, I suppose. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but like we said before, you'd never ask me to design your house. I don't know what you'd get. It'd be pretty basic anyway.
Well, there's different sorts of creativity.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, definitely.
Oh gosh. Jay, thank you. I better let you get back to the draft.
Go and feed the horses.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, but thank you so much. I'm so glad we finally got to do this.
Yeah, no, I feel very privileged. Thank you.
No, I'm privileged. Thank you.
Thanks, girl.